So welcome to the Hood Talks podcast, live and in person. This is our season final. This is our last event for the season. There's a lot of schools in St. Louis, but we know they ain't doing what they need to do, but I ain't here to talk about that. That's what the panel is here to talk about. And I am going to start and let Ms. Taylor introduce herself, and we're going to go around.
All right, can y'all hear me? Yes. I hear this, so yes. Hey y'all, I am Taylor Butler. I am a proud St. Louis native, a proud graduate of St. Louis Public Schools. I came out of Soda and International Studies in 2013. Woo-hoo, it's in my blood, today I died. But I wear a lot of hats. So full-time, I am one of the founding members of the Legacy Center, where we focus on youth, educators, and the community, primarily focusing in the 24-1 footprint and the Normandy Schools Collaborative. I'm also a yoga instructor at The Collective, the only Black-owned donation-based yoga studio in Missouri. I'm a doula, I'm a mom, and I love all things St. Louis and Black people in St. Louis.
All right. And she's about to be a doctor too.
Yes! And I was up crying doing homework last night. So I'm a doctorate of public health student at Tulane University in New Orleans, focusing on leadership, advocacy, and equity.
Hi everyone, I'm Charlie Cooksey, St. Louis native, born and raised. I'm an educator, an entrepreneur, and I am committed to Black people and Black liberation. I served on the school board for SLPS for one term, and I have started and led two social startups committed to educational and racial justice, and had the honor of serving as an interim executive director for another social startup birthed out of the Ferguson Uprising. And I'm an only child. I have no kids, but I think every kid is all of our kids, and so it's an honor to be here today to talk about how we can care for and love our kids.
Hello, I'm Crystal Barnett. I'm also a St. Louis native, born and raised in North St. Louis. Was also a DSEC student. I have two children. My son is now in college, getting ready to graduate next year. I also have a daughter who is being highly impacted by this issue, going to the 7th grade. I'm also the founder of Bridge to Hope Parent Institute. Our focus by 2040 is that we want to raise the illiteracy rate by 50%. And we don't want any child to graduate functionally illiterate from the 12th grade. I'm also very much committed to people's justice and liberation. I also do think it's a pivotal time for us, and I'm happy to be here.
Afternoon. I'm Dr. Sean Hero Harrell. I'm an educator and entrepreneur based here in St. Louis. I think of the work I do as curating educational experiences, and I lead a learning cooperative, Sovereign University. We also do curriculum development and supplemental instruction. We lead a homeschool co-op, and a lot of my work revolves around providing content and also a little bit of the confidence and direction for parents who are focused on sustainable educational practices and focus a lot of internal efforts on educating children.
So shout out to the panel, y'all. This topic is near and dear to my heart as well, as I have two little ones. I don't know about anybody else in the room, but as school starts, that's probably why I'm also out of whack. I brought some. Again, this is very near and dear to my heart, but I brought some school clothes today, and I'm not prepared, mentally prepared. And like, it's right around the corner. It's, August 19th is when most of the kids in the public school go back. My oldest will be in 1st grade. Kindergarten was a fight. So I think that's why I'm not prepared, because I feel like I'm going into another battle, right? When it should be a very exciting and like, oh, we're going to the next grade, it's gonna be great. Woo-ha. I don't have that energy moving into first grade for my daughter. And so I think, again, it's sad that we're here today to still have the same conversation. But I want to start with the question to the panel. What are some of the key failures of the current education system that disproportionately impact Black children? What are they basically doing wrong that doesn't help our children?
I honestly would say start by saying the whole system is a failure. Often when we talk about public schooling, people say, oh, public schools are failing Black children, but public schooling was designed to fail Black children, so it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. So it's not failing, it's succeeding in its purpose and how it was designed. But it's a lot of ways. So I am the mother of a Black boy, and I chose not to send my Black child to a public school because of the way Black boys are hyper-criminalized. So discipline practices, especially as they get older, is one of the biggest failures, because if I'm gonna go to a school and you're gonna treat me like a criminal while I'm here, and we know with Black boys it starts young. So while my rising first grade child has a lot of big emotions, but if you see those emotions and those feelings as a threat to you and you can't handle that and you can't sit down and have a conversation with a 7-year-old without feeling you need to suspend him or punish him, that's a failure on the school system.
Yeah, right. Anybody else?
So I'm going to answer the question from what are we collectively doing that's contributing to the failure of the system, because I think we're all complicit. And especially when we talk about shifting outcomes for Black children, we have to figure out what role we play in that. And when I think about systemic failure, it almost always goes back to a power problem. And if we want to see a different set of outcomes, we collectively have to be willing to build and wield enough power to hold these systems accountable for achieving outcomes that center the well-being of Black children. So for me, that looks like being more strategic about electoral campaigns. One ways that the system is failing is because we are not engaged enough politically when it comes to determining who's running for school board and who is serving on the school board. Also, it's not sufficient to just get engaged when it comes to, can I see that mic? To get engaged when it comes to finding the right candidates and to getting them elected, but we have to hold them accountable. And we have to hold them accountable to a shared vision for what we want to be true for young people, and put pressure every day at every school board meeting, in between the school board meetings, at the schools, at home when we get home, when the kid gets home and we see whether our vision aligns to their experience from the day. So I think there are many things that are contributing to the systemic failure of our education system. And one of the things that we can solve for as folks in this room is getting politically engaged, being unapologetic about building and wielding power, and holding the leaders who make the decisions every day accountable for executing a vision that honors what we see as best for Black children.
Kind of following up on what Taylor was saying to begin the conversation, I'm also of the belief that the system wasn't necessarily designed for our success, and so the problems that we find, like while we think of it as a bug in the system, is actually a feature. And so a lot of the efforts that I work with are independent education solutions, and really empowering, sharing information so that the responsibility and, really the power of educating our children, I don't think it should be left up purely to a system, especially when the leaders of those systems don't necessarily look like us, don't necessarily have our background information, or really can identify with what is important to us. And if we go around and talk about, everybody kind of names like what are the goals of your families as far as education of your children, I don't think it would necessarily be in alignment if we asked leaders of the public school. I don't, think we would have a high degree of commonality between that. So I really think that there are definitely being politically astute and holding the people that are responsible for leading in these systems is a big part of it. I am also of the belief that it's more of a holistic approach needed, and that we are, all compliant.
Okay, I think two things. There's two different thoughts happening at the same time. So there's a community responsibility to what happens in public schools, and then there's a fiduciary responsibility, which is like the staff, the leaders, the superintendents, the heads. I also think that sometimes we assume that when people are in leadership that look like us, that the outcomes will be better. We have seen over the last X amount of years that that's not necessarily true. There could be a misappropriation for what community feels like they have the power to step in and do. So knowing how to navigate in a system, irregardless of how it was constructed, will also allow for you to become a part of political conversations. It will propel you to get out of your seats and not just read things and be sad, but like, oh, my voice matters, or me coming to this meeting matters, or me learning how these things work matters, and then there's something I can do to help shift it to do something different, is what I think is the times that we're in now. And if we don't, we'll perpetually have this conversation 20 years from now. And all it will be is sad, but yet another generation of folks would have went through the system we're all talking about that's failed kids, but then it'll be their kids' that we're trying to help not have the same thing happen to. So I think the time to act is really up on us.
And then the last thing I'll add on to this part of the conversation is St. Louis is actually has one of the highest concentrations of private schools in the country, and that's a microcosm of our big issue around racism and fragmentation. And so it's easy for folks with resources and certain privileges to not have to experience every day the impact of a failing public school system, because we can isolate ourselves from the reality that a lot of poor folks and families and students of color are stuck with because of the way our school system is designed. And then on top of that, because of our deep fragmentations, we know there's almost 100 municipalities in St. Louis County. St. Louis County is separate from St. Louis City. And so there's like 20 plus school districts in St. Louis County for a population of barely 1 million people. When you go to another part of our country, there is one school district, and these are in regions that are twice, triple, quadruple the size of St. Louis. And so this fragmentation makes things super inefficient, where do we need 30 superintendents? Do we need to have 30 transportation strategies? There are so many things that we are committing to that do harm to kids because we are so committed to segregation and fragmentation. And I think that until we start to address this like weird obsession we have with fragmentation, it's going to be hard to solve for our education challenges. And then the last thing I'll say is that there's this idea of a monolith. There is no single answer. Every kid is different. Every kid has different needs. Every parent has a right to choose what's best for their kid and their family, which means that sometimes that's a traditional public school, sometimes that's a charter public school, public charter school, sometimes that's a home school, sometimes that's an independent school, parochial school. And we've gotten caught up in such a unproductive conversation about what is right and wrong about choice, but at the end of the day, a parent has the right to choose, and we need to collectively decide that every form of education, whether it's public charter, private, independent, or homeschool, is a school option of choice, so that regardless of where a child goes, they are getting their needs served.
I just want to answer that because I think that's important when she said that everyone should have the right to choose, right? But we know that's not the case. Going back to what you said before, there is all these different private schools, but you only have access if you have the let's call it what it is, the money, right? They are expensive. Some of these private schools are more than people's mortgages, their car notes. And so that's just one, but I want to ask you all, my question is, what are some of the biggest, and Hero, you might be able to talk to this a little bit, what are some of the biggest challenges faced by Black families when seeking alternative education options for their children?
Some of the primary obstacles I see when thinking about accessing independent education is awareness. Sometimes there can be a lack of specifically what a particular family might need. Funding for independent programs, because there are a lot of people doing the work, and if they were better supported, they could do more. Another big obstacle I see though is families and parents believing in themselves of what they can do. I mean, and you think about a family, you know, extended family, grandparents, aunt, uncles, like somebody is a subject matter expert in something. If it's an uncle that knows how to work on cars, all the nieces and nephews should have the opportunity to learn how to work on cars. If it's someone should have the opportunity to understand that if it's growing food, whatever it is. So I think it's a lot of times we can inconvenience ourselves a little bit to make a big difference. And when I'm saying inconvenience, I'm saying, okay, maybe you dedicate 3 to 5 hours out of a week to just spend time with the younger people in your family, passing some knowledge down. And so with that really being the root of what I do, I've had the opportunity or had my back up against the wall and need to learn how to be creative to get things done and provide the experiences that we know that our children deserve. We also know that their opportunities are only as grand and large as the exposure that they have. So if they have been, very narrow exposure to only, thinking about, different career paths or either, entrepreneurship or anything, exposure is a big part of that. So, kind of summing that up, I would say the funding for the independent programs that are going on, awareness, and, events like this help spread awareness. So I feel like we are kind of solving some of these issues in real time. And then finally, the parents and, extended family having the confidence and willing to make the sacrifice to do their part to educate the youth in their family.
I just want to add, I want to say too, you said it beautifully, we have to stop glamifying the wrong things, right? Our kids now just want to be rappers, football players, basketball players, and if you got that, great, go ahead. But we know everybody ain't making it, right? So how do we inspire them to want to do more than just that? To be more in the space of doctors, because we need them. Lawyers, we need them. Politicians, we definitely need them. The ones that are fighting for us, let me just emphasize on that. Because we have a lot of them, but we need the ones that are really trying to fight for us. And, just researchers, scientists, like all of these other things that we need as Black people to be in these spaces. How do we inspire them?
Just really quick, exposure, just letting them, taking them places to see what other people are doing. If you have a friend or know somebody that you went to school with that's doing a career that's kind of off the beaten path or not a lot of people know about. Hey, take your child to the job, put them on the Zoom. Like, I think it's really just that exposure and, making that a priority though, because we know the things that we want, but a lot of times, and when you're in the hustle and bustle, going to work, coming home, trying to fix dinner, raise your kids for 5 minutes, go to sleep and do it all over again, some of those kind of things can get pushed to the back burner, but, we have to take the time and sacrifice, but I mean, to me, as far as my experience, how I deal with those issues in my family and the families that I work with, exposure.
I'll say that people have to be equipped. So if I'm taking my child to X amount of different places, but I haven't had them in the space where they can even reach the heights that I'm taking them to, then it's counterproductive. So although we want our children to do and go beyond any means or reason that even we achieved, we got to this place, like I got to this place because somewhere along the way there were a set of people or things or experiences or education or whatever it may be that equipped me to be here. 2 different experiences. My son went to City Academy, Priory, John Burroughs, and a rich private school up in Illinois. My daughter is 13 now, just turned 13. Been to 6 different schools in 5 years, both private, public, charter, and homeschool. I'll just stop it right there. When we say that children need what they need, I didn't find it in 6 schools yet. We have a teacher coming to our house that was willing enough to build a relationship with me to tutor my child. I had to find outside resources that I didn't even know about, that you think I would know about, right? I'm a pretty well-connected individual that I had no clue about. I actually learned it from a mom who came to one of my programs. Then I had to go get some counseling that I didn't even believe in. I'm going to be clear about that. I didn't believe in counseling. It's like you pray, you believe Jesus, you do what you got to do, and you work hard, right? That's the way I was raised. But I also learned my baby needed to talk to somebody other than me. I, Crystal, needed to talk to somebody because I thought I was losing my mind. And now, going into 7th grade, I have some sense of solitude. But if I'm going through all of those things, knowing a lot of things, then imagine what people are going through that don't know what I know. So yes, I would love for this to be an easy conversation and for also there to be a one-fit-all solution. But the truth is, it's just not, just like Charlie said. But I do feel there are parts that people can lean into right now where you don't have to wait yet another second to say, I want to do something different. Okay, go to the next meeting. Okay, I want to know what's going on. Okay, read the next article. I want to see what's happening with my baby. Okay, go into that next meeting with your child's teacher or wherever you're at and start asking questions. Write them down first. Like, there's a level of self-preparation and accountability we should all have, whether you're a parent or not. And I think we can because school districts are very much affected by the community around them. I'm going to stop there.
I think to build on what Crystal was saying and to your question around I did say and I do believe that a parent should have the right to choose where they send their child. And I personally, in an organization that I'm affiliated with, I'm the founder of We Power, despite all the misinformation, are unapologetically pro-public schools. And so I'm going to answer this question with that orientation. And public schools are funded by our dollars, and I think that there's a certain level of standards that they should be held accountable for. And if there's not anything else that a public school should do, I think it is a responsibility that kids learn how to read and that kids are in safe, joyful spaces. And unfortunately, that is not happening right now. And I think that when we equip kids, 1, reading is revolutionary, and 2, when we equip kids to read, the possibilities are boundless. Their ability to read allows them to get exposure to opportunities and future career paths beyond sports and beyond entertainment. And it all starts with their ability to have the skill of reading and then to have the love of reading to unlock all the boundless possibilities that exist within books. And then the just final piece tied to this is that children, to me, they deserve to dream without filter. And so I think sometimes, honestly, we shun that they want to be a certain thing, and I think they should use that moment in their adolescence to embrace whatever it is, whether that's likely or not, because that is their playground to explore. And as they get older, I think yes, they should be considering other careers. But it is fun to play sports. It is fun to embrace the power of the arts, whether it's making music or entertaining. But as children get older, to me, the safety net they should always have is that ability to read, so that when they need to ask critical questions about themselves and their future, they can open a book, make sense of it, and start to make decisions about their life trajectory themselves without having to rely on others to inform them in ways that are biased.
Man, I got a lot of thoughts, y'all. My ADHD is ADHDing, but I hear y'all. So first, when it comes to our youth, I feel relatively young. My nieces and nephews think otherwise. But in this moment, I reflect on my parents and my grandparents. And when I came out of high school and I was coming out of college, my parents were like, you need to find a job that you are going to want to do for however long. They worked in their careers for 35, 40 years. They found a job and they stuck with it. It was that consistency. And I was like, man, I don't even be liking people for more than 30 minutes, and you want me to have a job for 35 years? That's wild. And then my sister sat me down and she was like, no, we're millennials. You work a job, you get the skills and experiences you need, and then you move on. Don't feel like you need to be stuck. And then I have conversations with youth who are younger than me, and they like, you want me to work a job that don't care about me? No. We have to start to understand that they are completely different than us. And what we think they need to do, they are not going to do it because they are coming up in a different era. Baby, they're going to be flying cars. And I'm still trying to figure out why gas prices so high. Times are changing, and we have to understand that they are the leaders, and they're going to change what careers look like for them. And sometimes it is sitting at home playing video games, and they are making more money than I am playing video games. And we have to be quiet because it's their career and it's what they're passionate about, and it might not be what we want them to do or what we place value in. But also sometimes we do have to encourage them to think bigger. So it's a yes and. And then I also want to piggyback on the conversation that Crystal had when it comes to the education system and our responsibilities. And it's really hard for us to think in systems, in silos. Like, yes, there's the education system, but we also have to think about the other systems that we are a part of. So, yeah, I really want to be engaged in my child's education. I really want to have these conversations with the teacher and build those relationships and hold them accountable. But I'm working 10 hours a day to make ends meet. And baby, I'm tired. And I need to figure out how to get food on the table, how to keep the lights on. So it's just like sometimes our people don't have the bandwidth to do it all. We want to, and sometimes we have to give each other grace, and we need to step up. And when we stand up for our kids, we need to stand up for other people's kids, because I know my homegirl can't come to this meeting, and I know she can't pour into her child, or you fill in where you can, but we know that we can't do everything, and so we have to give ourselves grace, and we got to give other people grace, including some of those educators who overworked and underpaid and are part of a system who don't give a damn about them either. So it's complex, it's hard, it comes down to the funding, what tax basis looks like, how much money is going into the school, why are superintendents making so much money and teachers aren't making nothing, why y'all still got the same books that I wrote my name in 2003, why don't y'all have new computers that Rockwood got? So it's hard and it's complex and it's all the things, and I wish it was like a one pill answer to it all, but it's not. So when I say throw the whole system away, I don't just mean the education system. I mean like the whole country. Throw it away.
At this point, I agree with say that. It is complex, right? And I unfortunately, Crystal, I know you said that we shouldn't be here 20 years from now. I do think we're going to be here 5 years from now. If we don't get it right this time. We might even be here 20 years if we don't get it right this time. I don't know if we really understand what is we're up against. I don't know if we really understand that. So I just think that it is complex. But it starts with self-awareness. And like you said, I agree, we have to show up where we can show up. And it's a big battle, but we do have to show up individually where we can. So I want to ask you all one more question, and then I'm gonna open it up to the group, okay? Because I heard you, Crystal, but that's not how we do it because our podcast, we let the people talk. So my last question is to you all, what actionable, and I think I've heard some, but what actionable steps can people take after this discussion to help improve the educational experience and outcomes for Black people?
Okay, I'm gonna start. Actionable step, this comes to the next board meeting in St. Louis Public Schools. If you're in the county, I would encourage everybody to show up to their next board meetings as well. Normally the second Tuesdays of the month. Also, on social media, there are a lot of organizations who share the work they're doing with the community and invite people to come. I would like a call to action would be to choose one of those, something you're interested in, and go. Like, get involved to see what they're doing and what they're working on, how you can plug in. Another actionable step is like a personal one, like write down in your house at home what you want to be true over the next year. And then for yourself, how you want to contribute to that change. Always running somewhere to do something, but there are many ways to engage. You can do it through social media. You can do it from the comfort of your home. You can read articles. You can send emails. You can write letters to people. You can do research. Like, there are so many ways for people to engage, and it's also your decision how and how much time you put into it. But you can be a contributor, is what I'm saying. No matter how much or how less, anybody that's contributing is towards the positive is a good thing. I also think that you can be excited about the possibility that change is possible. Thinking about it as something like it can never be achieved will almost make you not want to engage because you feel like you'll never reach like the end goal or get to a solution or in your lifetime. So that's another thing I think could help. And then my last thing would be is to please vote. Like, the power of the voice is very much affects all of the systems. And it's a very pivotal thing when people show up and put their voice to paper to say that we want X leaders in our space. We want things or tax whatever not to happen, or we want these new things to be in place so that we can have better communities and families. That's where I would start.
Crystal just named them all. But I honestly was gonna say voting, educating ourselves about what's on the ballot. None of us are free until all of us are free. And so even if I can provide for my child, I need to provide for all of the children so that we can all be liberated. So even if my child isn't in a St. Louis public school, but my vote impacts St. Louis public schools, I need to be educated about it because I want St. Louis public schools to get to a place where I feel comfortable sending my child there. So not only looking out for your child, but all of our children. It takes a village to raise a child and change the system.
Plus one to what they said. So We Power is focused on early childhood education, and so for us, we define early childhood as 0 through 5, and our vision is that all 90,000 children ages 0 through 5 have access to a quality, affordable, joyful educational experience 0 through 5, and enter kindergarten prepare to thrive. And for us, we would love for you all to get involved in the work that we're doing to make sure that all 90,000 children have access to that experience. So one of the things we do is we train folks on how to run for office. We need more candidates running for office and getting elected who are champions of childcare. We also train folks on how to advocate, organize, and disrupt systems so they are more accountable to us as community members. So we'd love for you to get involved in any of our trainings. And then the last piece is we have a coalition with other organizations called the Early Childhood Power and Policy Action Group. So we meet every month, and we are meeting to advance a set of recommendations we developed and reflected in something called the Early Childhood Playbook. And so we are always showing up to testify at County Council, the Board of Aldermen, at the state. And so if you're ready to take action, please get involved in that coalition. But just like they said, I think one of the most critical things we can do over the next couple of months is get registered to vote, register everyone around us to vote, and get educated on who is on the ballot, what is their commitment to our young people, and vote for those folks who are committed to young people, and unseat those folks who are not committed to young people, and then get ready to hold folks accountable, whoever gets elected on August 6th and November 5th.
Yes.
As far as actionable steps, I would begin thinking about mindset shifts. Some of the things that we heard over, I just want to echo. One, believing that change is even possible. Because a lot of times we are defeated subconsciously because, if we haven't seen enough examples of systems change, or, people beat the system and make it up out of them. It kind of convinces us that it's impossible. Another mindset, maybe not a shift, but maybe even a recommitment, is to really think of all of the children in St. Louis like all of our children. And I think that that's very important. Echoing holding elected officials accountable. But then even approaching them with clear, concise, actionable objectives and deliverables that we want to see. A lot of time I feel like in the electoral politics, we in particular Black people do our job of getting people there. But then I feel like we don't take it as far as holding them accountable or being organized within ourselves to say, okay, we got this official in, let's go to them with this narrative and hold them accountable. I think that's very, very important. Also, small scale things in the home with family, continuing to not just view education as something that has to come up out of a system, but something that is necessary for us as humans and Black people and people who want to do more and be greater. I think that's a big part of it. And then kind of finally finding people that are doing the work and supporting the Legacy Center, supporting We Power, supporting Breach the Hope, supporting Sovereign University. And that may look like different things. That might look like spreading the word about what we're doing. That may be volunteering, time, sweat equity, or that may be fiscally with supporting with money. But I really think that the work we do, and I'm speaking for me, but knowing all three of them, I think to a degree they would agree that this is more than just like some work that we doing. For me, it's my life calling. I feel like I'm doing God's will when I'm doing my work. And, really just supporting the people who have, showed the responsibility to stand up against systems or provide alternatives.
So y'all got y'all action items? Y'all took note? And we gotta think that outside of these rooms, right? And we gotta push and motivate each other to do these actionable items. Because it's important. I think what you said earlier, Hero, was one of the things that I felt so strongly about, and that's why I created the space. It was awareness. Because I don't know everything. You ain't finna hear me say I know everything. I don't know everything. I know some things, but I don't know everything. And there is so many great resources in St. Louis. So many. But the one thing that we have to know is if we don't use them, they take them. If we don't use them, they take them. And then they say, well, you didn't want it. You had it. You had a bridge to hope that was talking about literacy. If you don't go to, and don't get me started on the nonprofits, but if you don't go to a program, guess what happens? The program don't get funded. I'm teaching you how to advocate as a parent. Come to this program and you get paid. If you don't do that, she does not get the funding. Hero, I'm learning about you. But he has a space where he's teaching, homeschooling, right? He's not even probably getting much funding. I'm sure. So if we pour our babies into a homeschooling situation and we force some of these elected officials to push some of that funding, then we can have more collective of homeschoolings. They're gonna be scared then. Right? Okay, we power. You don't know how to advocate? I'm gonna show you how to advocate. I'm gonna hold you to how to advocate. You wanna run for office? I thought I did. I changed my mind. But if you wanna run for office, I thought I did. I changed my mind real quick. They will put me in the jail. You can learn, because we need them. And our voices matter. Even if you don't want to sit on the seats, get in the room. Right? Shout out to Taylor Doom and Legacy Center got all the programs popping over there. So there is just so many, y'all. And this is the first awareness. So you learned about several different spaces. Take it outside of this room. Share the information. What's up, y'all? It's your girl Vanna, and I am super, super grateful for this last journey that we've been on in season 4 of the Hood Talks podcast. From our new co-host to our live and in-person events, it has been a game changer. And I'm so, so, so excited for the future of the Hood Talks podcast. Now, this season, we've done a lot of different things. So shout out to everybody that's still continuing to rock with us and those people who found out about us during this season. We took our podcast to some conferences. And again, we hosted 6 live and in-person events that were super dope. And all in all, came down to doing what the Hood Connect is looking to do, which is connect people to each other and connect people to the valuable resources in our community. So if I must say, this journey has been great, and I'm super, super, super grateful and excited again for where we're going in season 5. Stay tuned.